Welcome, gentle souls, to a journey beyond the veil of sleep and time. Tonight, we descend into Egypt's most sacred secret, a forbidden necropolis where pharaohs' dreams echo through hidden chambers untouched for millennia. Here, in the silence between heartbeats, ancient whispers reveal mysteries that have slumbered in darkness for thousands of years. Let these timeless stories guide you into peaceful rest. If you're ready to unlock the secrets of eternity, like this video and subscribe for more nocturnal adventures into history's deepest mysteries. The torch flame wavers against limestone walls carved 47 centuries ago, casting dancing shadows that seem to breathe with ancient life. Your feet find purchase on worn stone steps, each footfall echoing through passages that have known only darkness since the reign of pharaohs whose names were already legend when Caesar walked the earth. The air grows cooler with each descent, carrying the distinctive scent of millennia, limestone dust, natron salt, and something indefinably sacred that clings to these hidden chambers like incense from forgotten rituals. Welcome to Egypt's forbidden city of the dead, where beneath the golden sands of Saqqara lie burial chambers that have guarded their secrets since the Old Kingdom. This is not merely a necropolis, but a sacred landscape as complex and hierarchical as any living city, where mortuary priests once moved through chapels performing daily rituals for the eternal welfare of the deceased. The flame illuminates hieroglyphs that emerge from shadow like whispered prayers made visible. These are not the tourist-worn passages of the Great Pyramid, but newly opened chambers where your footsteps are the first to disturb dust that settled when Memphis was the greatest city on earth. The walls speak in the ancient language of Ma'at, cosmic order made manifest in stone and gold, where every symbol, every carefully placed grave good, serves the deceased's journey through the Duat. Here, 20 meters beneath the desert floor, the temperature holds steady at the Earth's own breath, cool and dry, perfect for preserving the elaborate funerary equipment that transforms these chambers into waystations for eternity. Your torch reveals the gleam of canopic jars, their limestone surfaces smooth as silk, waiting beside rows of shaptas whose painted faces seem to turn toward the light with anticipation of their eternal service. Water drips somewhere in the darkness beyond, marking time as it has for thousands of years, each drop echoing through passages that wind deeper into the bedrock. These are not simple burial shafts, but complex mazes designed by ancient architects who understood that protecting the dead required more than stone and mortar. False passages branch into darkness, dead ends crafted to confuse those who would disturb the cosmic order, while the true chambers lie hidden behind walls that seem solid to casual inspection. The mastaba tomb above gives no hint of this complexity. Like an iceberg, 9/10 of its sacred architecture lies concealed, chambers within chambers, each serving specific ritual purposes that connected the deceased to the eternal cycles of death and rebirth. The flickering light catches the edge of a sarcophagus, its granite surface polished to mirror brightness, reflecting flame like a captured star. This particular burial chamber belongs to a nobleman whose name appears nowhere in the historical record, yet whose tomb reveals wealth that would humble kings of lesser civilizations. Furniture crafted from ebony and ivory fills recesses carved into living rock. Jewelry of gold and lapis lazuli lies carefully arranged according to ritual prescriptions found in the Book of the Dead. Papyri bearing protective spells rest in cedar chests, their hieroglyphic texts as crisp and clear as if the scribes had set down their reed pens yesterday. The silence here is profound, not mere absence of sound, but presence of eternity. These chambers were sealed with ceremonies that bound them to the eternal order, making them not places of death but gateways to continued existence. The ancient Egyptians did not bury their dead, they planted them in sacred ground, tended by priesthoods who understood that death was simply another form of life, requiring different accommodations but no less care. Your torch illuminates corridors that branch deeper into the necropolis, passages that connect this chamber to others in a vast underground network. Recent discoveries suggest that what we see represents only a fraction of what lies hidden. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed void spaces in configurations that defy current archaeological understanding. Thermal imaging shows temperature variations that suggest chambers sealed since before the pyramids rose at Giza. As the flame steadies, casting steady amber light across walls decorated with scenes of the afterlife, you stand at the threshold of mysteries that challenge everything we thought we knew about ancient Egypt's cities of the dead. These are not merely repositories for grave goods, but sacred machines designed to transform death into eternal life, complex beyond imagination and hidden beyond discovery until now. The journey into Egypt's forbidden necropolis begins here, in chambers where torch flame and ancient shadows dance together, and time itself seems suspended between heartbeats. Chapter 2: The Architecture of Eternity. The master builders of ancient Egypt understood something we are only beginning to grasp, that architecture could serve as a bridge between worlds. What you see carved into these limestone walls represents more than decoration. These hieroglyphs function as blueprints for eternity, instructions for constructing an afterlife that would endure forever. Move deeper into this burial shaft, and notice how the passage narrows deliberately. This is no accident of construction but calculated design. The ancient architects created these constrictions to force the ka, the spiritual essence of the deceased, to pause at specific points during its journey through the duat. Each turn, each narrowing, each sudden opening serves a purpose in the sacred geography of death. The flickering torchlight reveals corbelled ceiling construction that has supported these chambers for over 4,000 years without a single modern support beam. Master craftsmen working with copper tools, wooden rollers, and rope systems move limestone blocks weighing several tons through passages barely wide enough for a single person. The precision is extraordinary, joints so tight that papyrus cannot slide between stones, yet accomplished without mortar or binding agents beyond carefully shaped interlocking edges. But the true genius lies not in what you can see, but in what remains hidden. Behind this decorated wall runs a false passage designed to confuse tomb robbers who might breach the sealed entrance. Ancient Egyptian architects developed increasingly sophisticated deception techniques throughout the dynasties. Early mastaba tombs featured simple burial shafts, but by the 4th dynasty, pyramid builders had perfected systems of blocking stones, dead-end corridors, and concealed chambers that would challenge even modern engineering. Touch these hieroglyphs depicting the weighing of the heart ceremony. Notice how the carved limestone feels warm despite being underground for millennia. The pigments, made from ground minerals mixed with plant resins, still retain their brilliance because these chambers maintain constant temperature and humidity. The builders understood that preservation required more than simply sealing spaces. They created microenvironments that would protect grave goods, papyri, and mummified remains for eternity. Above your head, wooden ceiling beams imported from Lebanon support tons of stone while maintaining the structural integrity essential for housing canopic jars, shaptas, and elaborate funerary equipment. The ancient architects calculated load distribution with mathematical precision that rivals contemporary engineering standards. Recent structural analysis has revealed that many chambers could withstand seismic activity that would topple modern buildings. The sound of dripping water echoes from a passage leading deeper into the necropolis. This acoustic phenomenon serves a purpose beyond mere ambience. The ancient builders designed these chambers to amplify specific sounds while dampening others. Mortuary priests performing daily rituals in the chapels above could hear precisely when libation offerings reached the burial chamber below, confirming that the deceased received proper spiritual sustenance. Follow this narrow corridor past walls lined with miniature painted scenes from the Book of the Dead. Each image serves as both decoration and functional magical text, transforming the burial chamber into a three-dimensional spell designed to guide the deceased through the dangers of the underworld. The architectural program integrates seamlessly with the religious purpose. Every passage, every chamber, every decorative element works together to ensure successful transition from life to afterlife. Here, where the passage opens into a larger chamber, notice the sophistication of the ventilation system. Carefully calculated air shafts, disguised within the decorative program, maintain air circulation that prevented the accumulation of harmful gases while workers completed the elaborate burial preparations. These shafts also served astronomical purposes, aligning with specific stars that the ancient Egyptians associated with the journey to eternal life. The sarcophagus chamber ahead represents the culmination of architectural innovation spanning centuries. From simple pit graves of the pre-dynastic period to these elaborate multi-chambered complexes, each generation of builders refined techniques for creating spaces that would function as eternal residences. The evolution reveals advancing understanding not just of construction methods, but of the cosmic principles governing death and rebirth. Recent discoveries using ground-penetrating radar suggest that what archaeology has revealed represents perhaps 10% of what actually exists within these necropoli. Thermal imaging indicates sealed chambers extending far beyond current excavation boundaries, connected by networks of passages that transform entire necropoli into single, vast architectural organisms. The ancient Egyptians built these hidden chambers not as monuments to death, but as factories for manufacturing immortality. Every carefully calculated angle, every precisely carved symbol, every ingeniously concealed passage serves the ultimate architectural purpose, constructing buildings that would function perfectly not for decades or centuries, but for all eternity. The torch flame wavers, revealing passages leading still deeper into chambers where architecture transcends mere construction to become something approaching magic itself. In the depths of these burial chambers, torch flames cast dancing shadows across walls covered in hieroglyphic prayers. Here, where mortuary priests once performed daily rituals, the ancient Egyptian understanding of death as transformation becomes tangible. The air itself seems heavy with millennia of sacred purpose. The earliest burial practices of the Old Kingdom revealed a direct simplicity. Bodies laid in mastaba tombs were surrounded by essential grave goods, bread, beer, clothing, and simple shappas to serve in the afterlife. Death was seen as a journey requiring practical provisions. The deceased needed sustenance, tools, and servants, just as they had in life. These early burial chambers contained everything necessary for continuation, nothing more. But as centuries passed, the Egyptian conception of death grew increasingly sophisticated. The emergence of the pyramid texts during the 5th dynasty marked a fundamental shift. Death was no longer merely continuation, it became cosmic transformation. The deceased pharaoh was destined to join Ra on his solar bark, to become one with the eternal cycles governing all existence. By the Middle Kingdom, burial chambers had evolved into complex repositories reflecting this deeper understanding. Canopic jars now held organs removed during mummification, each protected by specific deities. Horus guarded the liver, Imsidi the stomach, Duamutef the intestines, Kabasanuf the lungs. The body itself underwent elaborate preservation, wrapped in hundreds of yards of linen interwoven with protective amulets. The practice of mummification revealed Egyptian mastery over death's physical reality. Natron salt drew moisture from tissues while preserving cellular structure. Resin sealed what salt began. The process required 70 days, mirroring the period when Sirius disappeared from view before its heliacal rising, symbolizing resurrection itself. Each step followed precise ritual requirements ensuring the deceased would possess their physical form throughout eternity. Within these chambers, walls display the evolution of funerary literature. Early tombs contained simple offering formulas. Later periods featured elaborate extracts from the Book of the Dead, collections of spells enabling navigation through the Duat, the dangerous underworld realm separating death from resurrection. These texts guided the deceased past monsters, through lakes of fire, around mountains of darkness. The spiritual journey described in these writings grew increasingly complex during the New Kingdom. The deceased faced judgment before Osiris, their heart weighed against the feather of Ma'at. Failure meant annihilation by Ammit, the devourer. Success granted eternal existence among the gods themselves. To ensure safe passage, burial chambers filled with magical objects, scarab amulets, protective figurines, papyrus scrolls containing every necessary incantation. Shabdas exemplify this evolution perfectly. Early examples were simple mummiform figures meant to answer when the deceased was called for labor in the afterlife. By the late period, complete Shabdas workshops operated, teams of specialized workers, overseers, even foremen, all designed to serve specific functions in the eternal realm. Some tombs contained over 400 such figures, creating entire afterlife bureaucracies. The Ptolemaic period brought final transformation. Greek influences merged with traditional Egyptian practices, creating hybrid burial traditions reflecting cultural synthesis. Mummy portraits painted on wooden panels show faces rendered in classical style while bodies underwent traditional Egyptian preservation. Burial chambers from this era contain papyri written in Demotic script alongside Greek texts, funerary equipment blending pharaonic tradition with Hellenistic innovation. Throughout these transformations, the fundamental purpose remained constant. Each ritual element, every preserved organ, all magical texts served one goal, ensuring the deceased achieved successful transformation from mortal existence to divine eternity. The burial chamber functioned as transformation laboratory where human death became divine rebirth. The mortuary priests who maintained these chambers understood their role as guardians of cosmic continuity. Their daily offerings, ritual recitations, and maintenance of funerary equipment kept the deceased spiritually alive within their eternal residences. These priests represented the living community's ongoing relationship with their transformed dead, ensuring proper function of the elaborate spiritual machinery contained within each sealed chamber. Standing within these spaces today, surrounded by the accumulated wisdom of 3 millennia, the sophistication becomes overwhelming. From Old Kingdom simplicity to Ptolemaic complexity, each generation refined their understanding of death's mysteries. Every chamber represents accumulated knowledge about humanity's greatest challenge, transcending mortality itself. The torch flame flickers lower, its golden light revealing passage openings leading deeper into chambers where other aspects of this eternal city await exploration. Here, ancient wisdom whispers through stone corridors about transformation, preservation, and the eternal human desire to build bridges across death's seemingly impermeable boundary. Chapter 4: Silent Eternities. The torch flames grow dimmer now, their amber light casting longer shadows across these timeless chambers. Here in the deepest recesses of Egypt's hidden necropole, where silence has reigned unbroken for countless centuries, we find ourselves surrounded by the gentle whispers of eternity itself. These burial chambers have kept their secrets well. Through dynastic rises and falls, through conquering armies and shifting sands, through the passage of millennia that reduced mighty pharaohs to legend, these sacred spaces have remained faithful guardians of their ancient trust. The chapels still echo with phantom offerings, the canopic jars still protect their precious contents, the Shabdas still stand ready for eternal service. In this profound stillness, we begin to understand what these chambers truly represent. They are not merely repositories for grave goods or showcases of ancient wealth. They are humanity's most ambitious attempt to preserve something infinitely precious, the continuation of consciousness beyond death's threshold. Each sarcophagus, every inscription from the Book of the Dead, all the elaborate funerary equipment speaks to our species' refusal to accept mortality as final. The mortuary priests who once tended these chambers understood something we often forget in our modern world. Death was not ending but transformation, not conclusion but commencement. Their careful maintenance of these sacred spaces, their daily recitations, their offerings of bread and beer and incense, all served to keep the deceased spiritually nourished within the duat. They knew that love transcends physical existence, that memory becomes form of immortality, that proper ritual can bridge the gap between worlds. Walking through these hidden passages, past mastaba tombs dating back 5,000 years, we witness the evolution of human hope. Early burial chambers were simple affairs, rectangular rooms carved from bedrock, provisioned with basic necessities for the afterlife journey. But as centuries passed, as understanding deepened, these spaces became increasingly sophisticated. Multiple chambers, false passages, concealed entrances, elaborate decorative programs depicting the soul's navigation through underworld perils. The artisans who carved these walls, who painted these intricate scenes of divine judgment and eternal reward, worked by flickering torchlight much like what illuminates our exploration tonight. Their steady hands created masterpieces that would never see daylight, would perhaps never be viewed by living eyes. Yet they lavished the same care on hidden chamber walls as temple facades, understanding that their true audience was eternity itself. Consider the profound faith required to construct these elaborate tombs. Generations of workers dedicated their lives to preparing chambers for the dead, trusting completely in promises of afterlife reward they would never witness. The massive stone blocks, precisely fitted without mortar, the intricate drainage systems preventing flood damage, the astronomical alignments ensuring proper cosmic orientation, all represent humanity's greatest act of faith. These chambers preserve more than mummified remains and precious grave goods. They safeguard our ancestors' dreams, their hopes for continuation beyond earthly existence, their deep conviction that love and memory possess power greater than death. Every carefully wrapped amulet, each protective spell inscribed on burial chamber walls, all the elaborate preparation for afterlife journey demonstrates the ancient Egyptian understanding that consciousness itself is sacred, worthy of preservation at any cost. The silence here is different from ordinary quiet. It carries weight of accumulated centuries, depth of profound reverence, density of concentrated hope. This is the silence of cathedral spaces, of meditation chambers, of places where the boundary between temporal and eternal grows thin. Standing within these hidden chambers, we become temporary participants in conversations spanning millennia. As our torchlight wavers and dims, as these ancient stones prepare to return to their accustomed darkness, we carry with us the gentle wisdom whispered by these silent walls. They remind us that every human life contains elements worthy of eternal preservation. That love expressed through careful preparation, through protective ritual, through faithful remembrance, possesses power to transcend time itself. The necropoli of ancient Egypt remain active even in their apparent stillness. Within these hidden chambers, surrounded by the accumulated devotion of countless generations, the dead continue their eternal existence as their creators intended. The Khosals still inhabit their carefully prepared residences, still receive spiritual nourishment from ritual offerings made thousands of years ago, still journey through the duat toward final judgment and divine transformation. These forbidden chambers keep their secrets not through concealment, but through revelation too profound for casual understanding. They offer their greatest treasure freely, the knowledge that human consciousness, properly honored and carefully preserved, achieves its own form of immortality within the gentle embrace of collective memory.